One of the things that I genuinely adore so freaking much about Star Rail has got to be the fact that we have boss fights that are against playable characters. But that's not really the only thing. I have made a couple of videos explaining why I love boss fights and what kind of boss fights I really want to see within the future. But there's also another mechanic that I find to be really useful for storytelling, and that enables us to have potentially any boss fight within the game. And that is something that genuinely has me very excited for the future, because I can't really tell anymore who we're gonna fight or what kind of point of view we're gonna get whenever we're gonna approach a boss fight. Yes, like legitimately speaking, the whole system where we change perspectives to a different character is something that has me incredibly excited about, and I love the fact that they started implementing that within Penacony officially. I know we got that the very first time within Yanqing's companion mission, and I genuinely adore the fact that we were able to experience the sort of encounter against Jing Liu that he had, where he gets like a bit mentored and such. And also, that genuinely drives the plot forward now in 2.5, after Yanqing was an absolute king, and I absolutely adore him. But regardless, the fact that we can change point of view between characters is something that I feel is incredibly useful for the game, and super massive, just as a whole, because we can genuinely just have a whole patch where we can just be like, oh, let's see what Budhill and Adventurine are up to now, instead of us actually doing Trailblaze things. We can just randomly switch points of view to the Stellaron Hunters, and it's gonna be great. I don't know, just the available potential of random things and random encounters that we can get within the game has spiked to essentially infinite amounts. And yeah, this is essentially the reason why I am making this video, is because I kind of want to give out 5 different fights, hopefully boss fights that we can fight within the game, that I want to see in the future for Star Rail, at least in the near future, because we have very limited information in just where we are right now. And that, let's face it, the universe of Star Rail is massive. The fact that they sent us to space gives us, again, almost infinite possibilities of boss fights. So yeah, with that being said, let us see 5 boss fights that I want to see. Okay, so to start things off, I feel like this one is a bit of a given, but I definitely want to see a fight from Budhill's perspective against any of the Stonehearts. However, I do have one particular Stoneheart in mind, and that has gotta be Sugilite. Or Sugilite, I have no idea how to pronounce that gemstone. That being said, I genuinely think it would be incredibly interesting, mainly because of the dynamic that he had against Venturine within the Myriad Celestia trailer. I almost forgot the name of that, but yeah, during the Myriad Celestia trailer, I still love the fact that he was one of the people that voted in favor to just remove Adventurine from the Stonehearts, but also he genuinely does seem to have a bit of a gripe against Adventurine. He doesn't seem to like him that much, at least from my initial impression, right? In order to like vote against him, he must not really enjoy his presence. At least that is what I got the vibes of. So, seeing a moment of Adventurine and Budhill teaming up against the IPC, obviously Adventurine is not going to appear there because he still will probably want to like keep his cover, but I feel like it would be interesting to just see a Budhill fight against Sugilite. I have no idea what that cornerstone will do, but I'm really hoping it's gonna be one of the combat-based ones, because we know that Topaz isn't a combat-based gemstone, at least from her own testimony. Even then, I know that I'm mentioning from Budhill's POV, though I also, mainly because of the fact that we have the Wardens event, I also want to see a fight against Boothill. So another quick feature that I really hope that they implement, within the story at least, I want to have boss fights where the ending doesn't really matter. It's like a pre-made ending, so to speak, the illusion of choice, you could say. But for example, it's just I want a boss fight where Boothill and Sugilite are fighting against each other, and you get to select who you want to pick. Do you want to side with Boothill in this moment within the story and use the Boothill POV to fight against Sugilite, and then you get the Sugilite boss fight, or the reverse? Do you want to play as Sugilite whenever he releases, if he is able to be released? Regardless, have Sugilite in your party against Boothill, and then we have a Boothill boss fight too, and we get a 2-for-1 special. And then, by the end of the fight, it's like, oh, hey, it's obviously one of them, the one that you picked, ends up with the upper hand, but then, another external factor comes in, interrupts the boss fight, they can't end it, so it ends in a quote-unquote tie. But, no, I genuinely want to see a fight within just a fight with Boothill. I think it would be incredibly cool. Or, in Boothill's POV against the IPC, because I also want to fight the IPC incredibly badly. Alright, so coming up next at number 4 is one that I would like to see, not immediately, but somewhere in the future, is definitely fighting against a Leviathan. And the reason why I am mentioning the Leviathans in particular is because, of course, naturally, Ruanmei is going to mess with Leviathan fossils, probably to try to see if she can achieve something near to the freaking Aeon of Veracity Ouroboros. And it's gonna be absolutely terrifying, it's gonna be scary, and I don't want to fight another Skarrak boss or whatever the hell that big beetle was, because that boss fight was annoying. So I'm not looking forward to fighting another one of Ruanmei's creations, but at the same time I kind of do. I kind of think it would be interesting, and it would be not fun, but it would be challenging. I know that I'm probably sounding weird because I'm oh, it's probably not gonna be a fun boss fight, but I want to fight it. Yeah, I don't know. I like impossible boss fights or impossible challenges where you need to somewhat break the game in order to actually beat it. I might be insane, so yeah, but yeah, regardless, I feel like fighting against other monstrosities that Ruanmei is trying to reanimate would be incredibly interesting, would be incredibly cool, would be incredibly terrifying, and as a whole, it would just be interesting. Yeah, that is just pretty much just it. It could be interesting, and I want to see what a Leviathan looks like, because we have heard bits and pieces about it, and if I recall correctly, that one curio in Star is supposed to be bait for Leviathans. Still, Ruanmei really needs to stop messing with biology. I am terrified. Wait, before we actually get to number 3, I want to make a quick little announcement, and it is that if you're watching this at the moment that it got released, I'm likely live on YouTube or Twitch as well. And I will be doing a live stream where I'm going to be pulling for Linkshot. I'm going to be trying out that new event that has a little mini games, and I'm also going to be doing I want to try the new Divergent Universe of the week with Linkshot in my team, even though I'm probably going to suffer with it. Regardless, yeah, do show up if you think that it would be fun. Go support. If you are doing your Linkshot pulls, or if you already did them, I wish you the best of luck. I'm hoping everything goes absolutely great, and I wish you all an amazing day. With that being said, let us continue on with number 3. Alright, so coming in at number 3 has gotta be another Stellaron Hunter, and in this case, it's gonna have to be Blade. I really have thematic planned out for Silverwolf that I'm concocting in my mind, but beyond that, I want to see Blade, because that one seems a lot more possible. Mainly because one of the things that I want to see is not just regular Blade, I want to see Mara struck Blade. I want to see what happens to Blade when he's too far away from Kafka and he loses control and she's not able to use her spirit whisper to keep him in check and he just goes batshit insane, goes on a freaking rampage. I think that would be an interesting thing to see. It would be also cool that we were to be playing as Imbibitor Lune during that time. One, because let's face it, it's gonna be traumatic for just the story to be encountering that, but at the same time, it would also be just, again, a really cool, emotional, and amazing fight to just see how Imbibitor Lune knocks Blade back, like somewhat back into his senses, even if at the end of the day they still are not at good odds with each other. They're just like, Blade's still like angry and such, but at least Imbibitor Lune can somewhat help him. I don't know. I might be grasping at straws, but yeah, I want to see what happens when Kafka's not there to keep him in check, and it has to be an actual moment of friendship or whatever to try to snap him out of that rage. Maybe add Jing Liu into the mix because of everything that happened. It would make him be able to be even more fueled with rage. And yeah, I don't know. I just want to have a super boss fight against Blade, and I also think it would be quite interesting because I feel like he would be the boss fight that you definitely don't want to fight with a follow-up attack team, because he has his counter attack within the actual gameplay of Star Rail. So if they were able to translate that into a boss kit, fighting it with follow-up attacks would be miserable because you would be giving him so many turns, right? At least that is how I'm envisioning a boss fight. But yeah, no, like I definitely I want to see that. That is something I'm looking forward to. Even though, again, it would ruin follow-up attack teams, at least for him specifically. Alright, so coming in at number 2 is probably gonna be a confusing one. Because 1, I'm not sure how to properly explain it, and 2, it's probably one that people expected it to be at number 1, and that has gotta be Welt and against Luocha. Just the two of them, because we have the whole plotline that Luocha looks like Void Archives. Welt is very suspicious of him. There's just a lot of chaos that Luocha can probably unleash upon the world. So, just as a whole, I think it would be very intriguing to see like the whole mystery wrap up. Maybe Void Archives actually appears. You know what? Let's just make this be a very traumatic fight. Just bring in freaking Luocha and Void Archives, the two of them together, and then bring Welt and Himeko, and then people are gonna lose their mind, because again, just putting Himeko in any sort of danger is gonna be bringing in all of the alarms for everybody that has played Honkai Impact 3rd, and even then, some people that play Star Rail and know about what happened to Himeko Murata, I think that was her name in Honkai Impact 3rd. I really need to verse myself with Honkai Impact 3rd. Regardless, just any kind of speckle of, I'm not sure what the word is, but just like any miniature freaking hint of Himeko being in danger is gonna put everybody in peril, and I think that would be really, really cool to have. And again, just a fight against Luocha would be sick. A fight against Luocha and Void Archives, now that I say it out loud, it sounds even more insane and even more convoluted, and it is now something that I genuinely want. So yeah, just as a whole, I think it would be cool. You know what, even then, like just a fight of Luocha against Void Archives, just because of the whole, like, dimensional twins thing just being an issue, I think would be quite cool, because we know that at least from what I recall, Void Archives is supposed to be the Welt's blonde companion, and we kind of got confirmation of that from the little trailer of Welt using him as a snowboard. So seeing him in a positive light, helping the team, could also be a really cool reunion to just fight Luocha. I don't know. I'm just heavily speculating a lot of things that I hope become, like, are willed into existence. So yeah, just like this concept is my number 2. Before we actually move on to the number 1 spot, I want to talk about real quick a few honorable mentions of boss fights that I really wish to see in the future of Stario. The first honorable mention has gotta be a rematch between Yanqing and Yunli. And in particular, I just want to have this rematch mainly because while the fight that they had was really cool, it was very action-packed, and I think it was very interesting, I do want them to do a proper sparring session. Now that they both have more respect for one another, now that they both understand their techniques better and their philosophies of how they train, I think it would be quite a spectacle to see them, not going in for the kill, but rather actually going in a sort of sparring session. And at the same time, like, I feel like we were a little bit robbed of seeing that within the Wardens. Because that was supposed to happen, but then Yun Li wasn't able to actually participate due to everything that happened against Fei Xiao. And also, speaking of Fei Xiao, right, like, we saw how Fei Xiao was able to stop Yanqing and Yun Li. Like, they were both doing, like, a very strong swing. And she just stopped them with, like, I think, like, 2 fingers in each hand. And it was super simple for her. Yet, we do see them grow very quickly within the story because they were able to actually defeat Fei Xiao, right? Not necessarily defeat, but they were able to contain Fei Xiao until Fei Xiao freed themselves, right? And I think that is definitely something that I want to see how they will fare against each other now that they have had room to grow, especially now that they have both returned to the Ming, and well, Yanqing is still in the Laofu, with a few hints that he wants to train and expand his horizons. So I definitely want to see Yanqing traveling to the Ming, and they would have a sparring session there. So the next one that I want to do as an honorable mention is a bit impossible, I want to say, hence why it's in here in the honorable mentions. It is just that I want to see what happened with the High Cloud Quintet, but like in-game. That being said, I don't think it would be possible because they would have to remodel characters. Like, they would have to make a new model for Yingxing, they would have to make a few adjustments to Imbibe Lune so that he looks like actually Dan Fong. We would need to have Jingliu without a blindfold all the time, a much younger looking Jin Yuan. I don't think it would be possible. It is something that I definitely do want to see. And especially I want to see what the hell happened with, whatchamacallit, with Bai Hung. I want to see, like, a boss fight against the big dragon that she becomes. But, that being said, I don't think it would be possible. It's just wishful thinking at the end of the day. So coming in at number 1, my favorite concept so far, and yes, I am biased, it would be a fight against Sparkle, or Sampo Koski, or just in general some high-ranking masked fool. The main reason is just chaos. The thing I genuinely adore about the masked fools is that they are, in the alignment chart, they're just chaotic. There's no like chaotic evil, chaotic good. No, they're just chaotic for the sake of being chaotic. I wouldn't even call them like neutral. They're just there, doing whatever they fucking please. And in all honesty, that is one of the things that I genuinely adore about these characters. And I feel like they would make an incredibly cool boss fight. I want to bring up 2 comments that were in some of my previous videos that I'm gonna be deploying in there, and also thank you very much to these people for just like these ideas that they came up with. Genuinely speaking, I adore them, and I really want these to actually be in game at some point. The first one is a boss fight against Sparkle, where she's able to transform into previous enemies, and I think it would be really just messy, but it would, like, for the code, like coding wise, it would be a nightmare. But just imagine going against Sparkle, and every single time that she's going to attack you, you don't really know what's going to happen, because for some reason this next turn she decided to transform into Bronya and do a snipe against you, or maybe she's supporting Sampo, I don't know, and she turns into Bronya and boosts him forward and then like transforms back into herself again. And then the next turn she transforms into, I don't know, freaking Japard, provides everybody a shield. I I think it would be too random, which is why it may be able to be a nightmare for it to be coded. That being said, it would be so much fun. It would be so chaotic. It would lead to so many like mouth like being left open, just streamers being chaotic. Regardless, I just want to see what they would do to make the actual masked fool boss fight feel like you're getting trolled. I just want to see the chaos of it all. The other thing that was brought up by a different commenter was a sort of masked fools related endgame content, where you would get interrupted if you took too long. Make it a stress-inducing fight. And I feel like it would be just, I know it would be very rough, but at the same time, it would be so funny. Just give the player infinite turns. Just like the enemy doesn't appear in the whatchamacallit, in the turn order rotation, but now there's like a timer on top of you. And when that timer reaches 0, that means it's the enemy's turn regardless of what you're doing. They're going to interrupt your turn and they're going to attack you, and it is as if you are getting ulted by the enemy. It's like, no, it's no longer your turn, it is now the enemy's turn, and you gotta wait your turn now because the enemy decides that it's time to absolutely destroy you. And I mentioned how this was very similar to like the Sans boss fight when he decides to start attacking you when you're in the menu. Yeah, just something like that. I just want the opponent to break the fourth wall, similarly to how Aha did in the simulated universe, and make us suffer for just daring to fight them. I know this is probably like the longest segment that I'm speaking of regarding just like a singular boss fight, but I genuinely want to see this. Even if it is gonna potentially break the game, it's possibly gonna be one of the buggiest boss fights in the entire, just ever. But I want it. And that's essentially what I wanted to say. So yeah, thank you for listening to me ramble on, even to this point within the video. Yeah. With all that being said, I do want to thank each and every single one of y'all. We have officially broken the 2,900 subscriber range, which I feel like it's incredibly wild and incredibly crazy. But again, I'm really happy with the fact that we have reached this far. It blows my mind. I never would have thought that we would be able to get to this point. At the same time, I want to say thank you to the community, because again, like all these fan-made boss fights, all these ideas, there's even been people making up like their own characters that they want to see with their own like kits, and I think that is honestly fantastic. It fills my heart with a lot of joy, especially because again, like I really wanted to be like a game designer, so like seeing people also come up with their own ideas of how they would want to implement. Obviously, some of these are a bit broken, but like they're also just for fun. Definitely makes me smile. It makes me imagine them within the game and what character I would like use them with, and just I don't know. I just want to say that I adore this community. You all are absolutely great. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoy this sort of content or analysis, or you know, there's not even analysis, it's over analyzing like character lore or path lore, just random shenanigans, where I might be yapping perhaps way more than I should. Um, Definitely hit that subscribe button. It's free. It only takes a second. And if you ever feel like the quality of my content ever just drops or it's no longer that entertaining to you, you're more than welcome to unsubscribe. It's perfectly reasonable. At every single point, I should be aiming to make my content better. Which, speaking of which, I'm sorry that I didn't upload on Sunday. The day was incredible. Like, the weekend was incredibly hectic. That being said, I do plan to still be releasing a video this Sunday. So hey, to make it up, this is a 2 video week. And the next video, which I'm hoping I will have time for, I am very excited for. So yeah, with all that being said, thank you oh so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.